Hello guys, Lady Lee here. In this video we are going to make peach jalapeno jam. This is a delicious sweet peach jam with a touch of spiciness from the jalapeno. It is not too spicy, even I can eat it and I love eating it. But you can make it a little more spicy or a little less spicy, and I'll show you how in a minute. I am going to try to keep this video relatively short. We are going to can this jam for a long-term storage, but I'll try to keep it short. So let's get right to it. We need very ripe peaches. Not falling apart, but ripe. I usually do not peel my peaches. I don't see a need to do that. I just cut the flesh off the peach and then dice the peaches. It really doesn't matter how you do it. Just, however you see me do it right here. You don't want huge pieces and you don't need the pieces to be too small. Just so you have an idea, I started with about 2.8 pounds of peaches here, maybe 14 or 15 of them, something like that, and about 6 jalapenos, large jalapenos, and that made 12 half-pint jars. The recipe and step-by-step picture tutorial and printable recipe card are on the blog, so you can I'll link it in the description below, and you can go and print it out and have it with all the exact measurements and everything. For the jalapenos, I usually put gloves on and try to make sure they don't touch your skin or your eyes or anything like that. I cut the stem off and then cut the jalapenos in half and remove the seeds and the white membrane stuff that is in there. The seeds add a lot of heat, so if you want your jam to be spicier, then you can leave some of the seeds in. Then I slice and dice the jalapenos, and all of this, the jalapenos and the peaches, go right into a wide and shallow pot for cooking. Once the jalapenos and the peaches are diced and in the pot, next we want to add the sugar. Now let's talk about sugar for a minute. In traditional jam, we usually keep a 1-to-1 ratio. So a 1 part fruit, 1 part sugar ratio. For me personally, it's way too sweet, and I feel like the sweetness almost makes me not being able to taste the fruit. So I cut the sugar in my jam in about half, and that is enough as far as sweetness, and it's also enough for storing and canning and storing for long-term storage. If you're not going to can this jam and you're just going to make it and keep it in the refrigerator, you can use much less sugar. You can use as little as you want, really. But if you are going to can the jam and you want it to last at room temperature in a jar on a shelf, then we do need the sugar. And you can do half part sugar or even a little bit less, especially if your fruit is really sweet. So I measure half of the weight of the fruit and sugar and add it to the pot, and then we turn the heat to medium high, and we want to bring this to a boil. Basically stir and just kind of move it around until all the sugar melts and everything starts to boil. Once the fruit starts to boil, then we let it boil for about 5 minutes before we lower the heat to medium low. We let the fruit cook for about 10 more minutes, and at this point it should be soft enough that we can mush it. And you can do, I hope I say it right, mush it. You can do that with a potato musher, or you can do it with immersion blender, and I like doing it with an immersion blender. You just have to make sure that the blade is under the liquid at all time, or it will make the hot boiling fruit fly all over. So you do whatever you want here. Some people like blending it all the way. Some people like leaving large chunks of fruit, which is what I like to do, but you can do it however you want. We cook for about 20 more minutes at this point, stirring frequently. And if you feel like the jam kind of jumps out of the pot, you can either partially cover the pot or lower the heat even a little bit more. Again, stir frequently, and you can see that there might be some foam forming, and if you want, you can scoop it out. I usually just mix it right back into the jam and it will disappear at some point. But if you want to remove it, then you can just grab a spoon and remove it. Okay, the next step here is to help our jam thicken. And because we didn't use a 1-to-1 ratio of sugar to fruit, we cannot use store-bought pectin. But instead of store-bought pectin, what we can use is lemon seeds and lemon juice. Especially the seeds have a lot of natural pectin in them, and it is a really great natural way of thickening jam. They do not affect the flavor, and I usually don't even bother fishing them out at the end of the cooking. I just can my jams right with the lemon seeds, and the jam is not going to be affected as far as flavor or thickness, no matter how long it stays on the shelf. So I add the lemon seeds and then some lemon juice, and then mix it all, stir it all together, and now we're kind of at the final stretch of cooking. The heat is still on medium-low. I sometimes even lower it to low at this point, and stirring frequently again. Now what you want to check here, just let it go for 5-7 minutes or so, and then check, and then stir and let it go again for 5 minutes, and then check again. What you want to look for is, do you see the liquid coming out off of the spoon after the big chunks of fruit kind of left the spoon? You look at the liquid and you want that to come off the spoon slow, and that's how you know that your jam is ready for canning. It takes a little bit of experience. There is also a test that you can do just by spooning some jam into a plate and letting it stay at room temperature for 5 or 7 minutes, and then check the thickness of it. But really, it just takes a little bit of experience to know when it's ready for canning. Take into consideration that as the jam cools, it will thicken a little bit more. Once your jam is ready, let me just mention that when we added the lemon seeds and the lemon juice, it's a good time to fill your water bath canner with enough water to cover the jars by about 1 inch, and put it on the stove top and turn the heat to high. Let the water come to a simmer, which is about 180 degrees or so. It takes a little bit of time, so it's good to do it when the jam is almost ready for canning. Okay, so when it is ready, wash your jars and lids and bends well with hot water and dish soap. You do not need to sanitize them because we're going to process them in the water bath canner for 10 minutes or a little more, so there's no reason to sanitize the jars. Fill your jars with the jam, leaving about 1/2 inch of headspace. And then grab the bubble remover and scrape the inside of the jar to remove air bubbles. Next, we are taking a damp paper towel and cleaning the rim of each jar. And then after that, you grab your lid and center the lid on each jar and close the jars with the band finger tight. So not too tight, just finger tight, we call it. And then your jars are ready for processing in the water bath canner. Elevate the rack of the water bath canner and use the jar lifters to help you place the jars on the rack. The water in the water bath canner should be about boiling at this point. And then we just slowly lower the jars into the boiling water and cover the water bath canner and process half pint jars for 10 minutes. When time is up, uncover your pot and use the jar lifters to remove the jars from the pot. It's better if you can turn the heat off and let the jars just rest there for 5 minutes before you remove them. Just for the purposes of this video, I did it right away. So you want to remove the jars from the pot and place them either on a cutting board or a kitchen towel on the counter, a surface that is not cold. And then you let them rest for about 12 hours undisturbed. Usually for me it's overnight. I don't really touch them until the next day. To check that your jars have sealed, you just press the center of each jar, and if there is no movement there, then your jars are sealed. All that is left to do is remove the bends because they rust and stick, and you can use them again for something to can something else. So remove the bends, just wipe your jars and store them in the pantry. This is a delicious jam that I sure hope you'll give it a try. Again, recipe and all the measurement and instructions are on the blog.